Welcome, everybody, to the Big Book Roundtable in the RICO 12 family of recovery resources. RICO 12 is, we target everything at people who are addicted from all backgrounds, faiths, and places, dealing with addictions of all varieties in all stages of recovery. We're here as a resource to help lift you, help lift ourselves, and help you be able to lift others in your turn. I'm grateful to be the host of this podcast and the moderator of this roundtable, and I'm spoiled rotten to be able to sit around this virtual roundtable with David G and Nikki M, and we'll get to them in just a minute here. If you out there are willing to contribute a little bit to RICO 12, please consider doing so. You can go to rico12.com/support and check that out. Also, go check out the other RICO 12 resources we have. Our flagship RICO 12 speaker meeting podcast. We've also got RICO 12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Nikki's on this, and she also does a weekly conversation deep dive into answers from everyday life in the Big Book. And we've just got lots of resources, so go check those out. Now, let's jump in here, and I'll get to Nikki and David here, have them introduce themselves after I introduce myself. I'm Justin. I'm a son of an all-powerful, all-loving God. I'm a recovering addict. I've been in the rooms a little over a decade, just about 2 months over a decade, and miracles have happened in my life as I continue to stay in the rooms of recovery. All right, Nikki, why don't you introduce yourself real quick and tell us a little bit about yourself today?
Hi, I'm Nikki M. And my big book, and I agree with it 110% and believe it, says that I'm an intelligent agent spearhead of God's ever-advancing creation, and that I am the child and he is the father. And I just believe it. I believe my big book. So that's what I'm up to right now. I'm up to believing the black ink on the white pages of my blue book. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. David, introduce yourself and let's get started here. Tell us what's going on in your life, too.
All right. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Nikki. I'm David G. I'm an alcoholic and an addict of many sorts from Oklahoma. Been in the rooms for a little over almost 3 decades now, and just very, very grateful to be around this virtual roundtable with you, too. I have a lot going on in life, as everybody, with work and family, but most of all in recovery. And the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous is my love. It is my first love. It always has been. It always will be. And like Nikki said, you know, there's one page that I don't agree with in here, and we'll get to that when we come to it. But that's okay. I don't have to today. I love the history of Alcoholics Anonymous. I love what it provides. I don't need it in order to recover, but I think if I'm going to have it, I ought to have the facts about it. So this is very good. So if you dig into the other literature, Pass It On by Bill W., Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers, Language of the Heart. There's also another one here. It's called The Writing of the Big Book, and it's The Creation of AA. And it's by a man named William H. Schauberg. And if you ever get a chance to read that, it will open this book up in a way that you could have never imagined. So jump in. It's here. Recovery's here. This is the good life. So thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, David. And I will put links to those additional books that David just referenced in the show notes of this podcast. So if you out there are interested and want to see where you can look those up, you can get a link there in the show notes of this podcast episode. All right. So happy to be here. We're going to continue on our march through the Big Book as we do this paragraph by paragraph, page by page. Today we'll be continuing in Bill's story, starting on page 3 of the 4th edition of the Big Book, starting at the first full paragraph for the next few years and reading through the top of page 4, the paragraph that ends with amused skepticism. So I'll get reading here, and then we will get commenting on this and digging a little bit deeper on it. For the next few years, fortune threw money and applause my way. I had arrived. My judgment and idea were followed by many to the tune of paper millions. The great boom of the late 20s was seething and swelling. Drink was taking an important and exhilarating part in my life. There was loud talk in the jazz places uptown. Everyone spent in thousands and chattered in millions. Scoffers could scoff and be damned. I made a host of fair weather friends. My drinking assumed more serious proportions, continuing all day and almost every night. The remonstrances of my friends terminated in a row, and I became a lone wolf. There were many unhappy scenes in our sumptuous apartment. There had been no real infidelity, for loyalty to my wife, helped at times by extreme drunkenness, kept me out of those scrapes. In 1929, I contracted golf fever. We went at once to the country, my wife to applaud while I started out to overtake Walter Hagen. Liquor caught up with me much faster than I came up behind Walter. I began to be jittery in the morning. Golf permitted drinking every day and every night. It was fun to carry him around the exclusive course which had inspired such awe in me as a lad. I acquired the impeccable coat of tan one sees upon the well-to-do. The local banker watched me whirl fat checks in and out of his till with amused skepticism. All right, so here we start seeing the spiral. He takes a little bit more into the spiral, but at the same time, he's saying, hey, I was living the high life, but drink was kicking my butt. So let's get into this a little bit. Nikki, what are some of the things as we read through that jump out at you and apply to your own story?
Oh, this is so great. Thank you guys. I'm just so excited. And just hearing people read over me like that, it just makes this book come more alive. So thank you for that. And I have that very first sentence: fortune through money and applause my way. I mean, that is what I want. I am Nikki M, and I worship money and validation. And, my line out, that's human aid. That's me. I had arrived. I know you guys, we could dive deep in that. It's like, that's what I thought too. That is so me. I'll never forget it. I'm on top of the world and I want to die. I love this because Bill W's me. We talk about the alcoholism, but there's so many more layers to this. My judgment and ideas were followed this is my old ideals. Again, we talk about it a lot about they need to be grounded in a new way of thinking. See, I've been programmed. I came in here and I didn't get into the rooms until 11 years ago. So I'm 50 now. I had lived a lot of my adult life. So that's a lot of programming going on. And it says like drinking, thinking, acting out is taking an important, exhilarating part of my life. This is what my life is about. Is getting a man and getting money. That's it. I'm throwing away everything, my children. And then God, because right here, it's like God's hand is always on Bill and it's always been on mine. I had a baby girl. Well, 12 years later, I'm like, I need a son. My life's not complete. I need a son and a husband. God gave it to me. And I threw him away less than a year later. Like God is always working. And then I love this. My thinking assumed more serious. Sorry, everybody. When I go through the book, I go through thinking. I cross out drinking and put in thinking because the center's in my mind. So my thinking assumed more serious proportions, continuing all day. This is all I do. I only think about him. I don't care about anything else. And then I can't get him, I'm thinking about how to get him back. And then of course I become a lone wolf. Because I don't give a shit on anybody or anything. All I care about is me and what I need. Because later on, we're going to talk about my selfishness and self-centeredness being the root of my trouble. And Al-Anons and codependence, if you're listening. But look what I do for you. Well, I do it because I want you to make me feel better. And then, of course, further down, it says, and the lone wolf, I isolate because I'm driven by 400 forms of madness, not love. Liquor caught up. Well, this is the grip of a progressive lifestyle. And I want to reverse back because I am a sex and love addict. I'm a real type 3, can't take it or leave it. And it says no real infidelity. Well, there's your fantasy addiction because I've lied in bed with a warm body, but I'm wanting someone in something else. That's an awful place to be, not present. Drifting out while you say you love someone, have a warm body on you, and then you are just obsessing about someone else. This is as low as it goes in my world. And then I love this. I began to be jittery in the morning. Oh my God. I hate when I'm in my disease, anyone eating pancakes, having a lovely morning and a good time, making sweet love on Sunday mornings. I just want to die. But that's not reality. That's my fantasy. Because I'm just driven in the morning because I wake up and my addict life is my only normal one. And then on page 4, where it says this, I love this. It's like, it talks about this great lifestyle. I'm living a good life. And the example is I have two examples, my own experience and Britney Spears. Britney Spears, pop star. If you're listening in another country or another decades, Google her, because we're in 2023. But I'll never forget when she was at the top of her game, you guys, and she was locked up in a straitjacket with her head shaved. The biggest pop star on the planet. That was Nikki. Page 43, and I'll just read it real quick. It says, my old manner of life was by no means a bad one, but I would not exchange its best moments. And I had a lot of good moments as a retired burlesque entertainer in the 90s for the worst ones I have now. Like, this life is a dream life. And that was built. Everything, and fat checks. I'm doing things that people only can dream about, and I'm dying. I relate to this 110%. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nikki. Thanks for diving in there and sharing your experience with this and the insights you've had. David, you're up. Tell us some of the things that jumped out at you and how, what we can learn from those.
Yeah, beautiful share, Nikki. Thank you so much. And thank you, Justin, for your service. And hey, everybody, wow, this speaks to me as a lust addict, probably more than an alcoholic, because I've been sober from alcohol and drugs for 29 plus years now. And, in 2019, I hit such a bottom, and I'd been reading this book for many years and doing what it said. I had a good life, except for in this one area of life. And when I would read this book, I would see that, and it would just make me sick because I couldn't do anything about it. Addiction was such a bully in the lust and the sexual acting out for me, and I just could not get it. Of course, I had everybody fooled. And that's something that I really try not to do today is talk one way and live another. I've done that for a long time in recovery, and that's just not a good place to be. And so, page 3, what you read, for the next few years, fortune threw money and applause my way. I had arrived. That's exactly what happened to me very early on in Alcoholics Anonymous. I went to work in the oil and gas industry, and I was blessed to move up in that field, making 6+ figures, double, triple at times, and just more money than I'd ever seen in my life because I had nothing. I came from prison. I came from nothing. And so when it threw fortune, it threw money and applause my way, and the applause being in recovery because I'd worked the steps. I'd had a awesome transformation. I'd had a blowout spiritual experience in 1995 while working with Charlie P. of Joe and Charlie. And it was probably one of the biggest ones in my life, other than the one that I experienced in 2019. But I feel like he said there, I had arrived. And so my judgment and ideas were followed by the tune of Paper Million. We have to remember this is the late 20s. The great boom of the late 20s is seething and swelling, and drink or acting out, whatever it may be, is taking an important part in my life. And for me, that was lust. There was loud talk in the jazz places. That's what was going on in the fellowships throughout the world. I became a circuit speaker. I started speaking all over the U.S. at different places. And, I like what he says. Everyone spent in thousands and chattered in millions. And that's exactly what we did in the oil industry. And I made a host of fair weather friends, not only there, but in Alcoholics Anonymous too. It's almost as I was living two different lives. And so my acting out assumed more serious proportions, continuing almost all night and every day. And I don't want to get into a lot of the detail of that, but I had put a lot of people in danger on the road, driving semi. Man, it's unbelievable where this illness will take you left untreated. And so the history on the 1929 bottom paragraph, he contracted golf fever. Hell, he's out of money. That's what it is. He didn't contract any golf fever. He liked to play golf, but the only fever he had is he was broke. And I understand what that's like, man. You need to do something quick. So, I'm going to set out and I'm going to go out to overtake Walter Hagen, one of the best golfers in the world at that time. So, yeah, we really see how the ego of Bill here. But like he says in this next sentence, and this is what always happens: liquor, lust, lying, thinking, whatever it may be, it catches up with us again much faster. And then, as Nikki so eloquently pointed out, I become jittery in the morning. I can be an emotional hangover sober. and be very jittery in the morning because I've lied so much. I don't know what I've lied about anymore. Now I got to make up a lie to cover that lie and hope that it's the right one. This is such a powerful part of the story whenever I read it and I put the first person in it. If I don't do that, I'm just reading a story about some guy that I really don't even care about, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm glad that God did what he did through his life in writing this book and stuff like that. But I can remember one time I had started going through this work with a guy in 1998. And in that lineage, what they would have you to do would go to the back of the book on the last 2 pages in the very end of the book. And at the top left of each one of those would be the word Bill, and the other one would be Bob. And they would start coming down from the men they had sponsored all the way down. And it would get down there around the guy that had taken me through the work. And of course, my name would be on it at the very end. And so I took this back to my sponsor and I said, man, look at this. I've met this guy. He knows all this stuff. I said, what do you think about this? And I showed him that. And he said, I think you ought to throw it in the trash. And it really upset me. I said, why? Why would you say that? And he said, because there's one name that's not there. And I thought, well, yeah, of course yours. I mean, we'll get it here. I mean, now I'm going to sponsor you. You know, I'm like him. I'm going to come to overtake Walter Hagen here, so to speak. But anyway, man, he was so wise and so profound. He said, no, the name is God. I don't see God there one time. And when I don't see that, that is useless and worthless information to me. So you either throw the book away or get another one or whatever you need to do, but don't bring it to me anymore. So I always want to remember that, because as you read there, you know, I can set up to take over whoever, but I'm probably going to end up drinking whatever that looks like, lust, whatever. So this is a great part of the story. This is where Bill, and I love this part because this is where Bill is getting ready to bottom out. He is getting ready. He's on his way to experiencing step one in a way that he's experiencing it now, but not like he's about to experience it. And that's exactly what happened to me in 2019. I found myself laying on the floor, begging for something to heal my mind. I was so crazy in the mind. And I just ruined every relationship that I'd ever had, my wife in particular. But what came out of that in the last almost 5 years has been unbelievable, how God delivered me from that addiction and set me on a path that has now helped millions and millions of people to begin to recover through the Big Book out from all addictions. And I'm so grateful. So thank you, Justin.
Yeah, thank you, David. And Nikki, what I'm going to do here, because this is so fresh, I'm going to ask David the question that I've got for him first, and then I'll get to yours here, because I want to really drill down on what you just shared here about God needing to be on that. You mentioned that you had a massive spiritual experience, David, early on in your recovery, and then another one in 2019. Talk to us a little bit about how having these amazing spiritual experiences are great, but insufficient to keep me going one day at a time. Why is it important to continue those experiences happening?
Well, I believe because, you know, yesterday's miracle is not sufficient for today. It's just not. I need another one. And the thing that I didn't know then is if I would take step 10 and 11 and apply it as it's outlined in this book on a daily basis, that's going to keep me watchful in my mind and things like that. If I'm not watching my mind, then it's watching me. And what it's going to do is it's going to still that experience. And it may be a long, long time before I get to have another one like that. But what happened in 1995 was that blowout spiritual experience. I got sober. I began to recover. I was helping people. I mean, my life completely transformed. But what I didn't understand, I didn't know how to live in the new land, as it talks about in our book. I did not know about the bridge of reason and the shore of faith and all these different things. I didn't know how to live on the shore of faith. And so whenever I had another one in 2019, now people were put into place that could show me how to do that through steps 4 through 9 and living in 10, 11, and 12 daily. And it has just been an amazing, amazing experience. So for me, I need to continue to have these experiences, not because my life can get better and David can be wonderful and carry a more effective message. Today, I want a conscious contact with my creator. That is my best partner. And I've taken a pretty good beating in order for me to admit that. But the reason that I want that experience, I'm sober today. Thank God. I am sober today, and I'm recovering from addiction and alcoholism. But I want that conscious contact with the spirit all the time. And I know that some people say that's not possible. My book says the consciousness of your belief is sure to come to you. It doesn't say it may come here, it may come there. When it comes, it comes. I just need to be aware and look for the things that try to take that away from me. So thank you, Justin, for calling on me.
Love that, David. Thank you so much. All right, Nikki, question I have for you, it goes back to the sentence that reads, drink was taking an important and exhilarating part of my life. Nikki, now, a decade plus later in the rooms of recovery and really working your program, if drinking, thinking, using, acting out, whatever it may be, can no longer be the exhilarating thing, what can you do to replace that? I mean, we're going to have the standard action or answer of work recovery. Let's dig a little bit deeper than that. What do you think, Nikki? What replaces that?
Well, that's a great question. And it's like, I don't know myself when I come in here. So everyone, if you're wondering what the standard answer is, well, what am I going to do without, whatever my drug of non-choice is? What am I going to do without it? Well, of course, the book says there's a fellowship, and that's the substitute, which is people like you guys. And then there's, sponsees and all this recovery. What about outside of recovery life? What about that? Okay, so here it is. Well, I learned to be more responsible. And if you're out there listening and you're responsible, that means you take an interest in your life, not other people's lives. So I have to be interested in, you've heard this before, Al-Anon's out. I always take to the Al-Anon's, like they finally go, I don't even know what kind of eggs I like because my husband always liked them scrambled and I like them soft boiled. Like, this is what we start to discover. So I start to discover myself because I'm always, especially as a codependent love addict, I will morph into whatever you need me to be. You're a vegetarian. Well, so am I. You eat steak and you're a cowboy. Well, let me get my cowboy boots on and kill a cow. This is not how it works now. So what do I do instead? Number one, I start to get responsible by learning myself. What do I need to eat? Oh, to be healthy, because I'm living a healthy lifestyle. I learned those things. What David just said, I love it. It's like without God. So I think David used the word partner. I can't remember, but God is my partner. In my big book, where they have some blank pages and you can write things, I literally have, I am the wife of God, because I didn't have a husband. Trying to look for what I said. It's like, God lives in me. So now I start to go on a date with God. If you're like, what replaces it? I have no one to go out with. I don't have any friends. Well, because remember, we're the lone wolf. So I've got to start to learn, what do I like? This is radical. I mean, I go to concerts alone, Justin. Hey, everybody, if you're out there, people in the back, have you ever gone to a concert and bought a single ticket? Because if you do, and you go last minute, like me, you can get almost a front row seat for the quarter of a price. It's a single ticket. I learned to like these things. I learned to go out for dinner by myself and eat the food I like. This is really radical. I learned to watch the things and learn about the things I like. This is a real personal one-on-one journey with the creator of the universe. So that's how, what do I substitute besides recovery? Because I want to say this loud and clear, because I see a lot of people come in to the rooms and they don't leave the rooms, meaning they don't have a life outside of the rooms. And that's not what God intended. I have a big life outside of the rooms. And that takes time. You heard David say he's been in here for 3 decades. Justin and I have been in here for at least a decade. Hopefully we'll make it to 3. And this is the reality, is that God becomes your best friend. And what does that look like? I don't know, because it's as David just said, we're like little parrots here echoing each other. The consciousness of your belief, not mine, not Justin's or David's, your belief is sure to come to you. And you know me, I get real crazy. And before I apologize for that, but I'm not anymore. And I don't mean crazy in a bad way. I mean, I get crazy for God. I get crazy for being humble, being responsible, being forgiving, being loving, being kind, being accountable, being aware. This is God, I can answer this question for days. There's so much out there waiting for me. The spirit world.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Love the energy you bring into that and the excitement, because I mean, just this last week, I heard someone say, I'm pretty recently sober and I am bored out of my skull. What am I going to do to live an exciting life now? And I love how you answered that, Nikki. Thank you. Keep your eyes open for ways to do that in a healthy, fun way. Love it. All right, let's get into takeaways. Nikki, what is your takeaway that you can take from our conversation and our reading today that you can apply in your own recovery life and in those that you work with?
Well, it's that I will never arrive. I think I said it the other day when we did a recording, like a Rico 12 recording that you do with so many episodes. I have a new slogan. This is a lifestyle for a lifetime. See, that's what I'm realizing, because now I'm excited for our next episode, everyone, because we're going to watch everything crash and burn. And that's what happens in our lives, doesn't it? Like the ups and downs. And so I'm just really excited about this lifestyle, because this is a lifestyle. And friends, I think David and Justin and I love you enough to tell you this is for a lifetime, because we're just reading it right now. My takeaway is, again, I'm in the grip of a progressive illness. Oh, and my takeaway is I love mornings now, because upon awakening, I'm like, thank you, God. Use me, God.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikki. David, how about you? What's a takeaway that you can apply for yourself and those you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you both for your service and all that you do. Before I jump into that, let me just say real quick to the young man that you had mentioned who had talked about being boring and what do I do next and this and that. Let me just say that on page 152 of our book is very specific about what we need to do. So young brother, if you're listening or if you hear this in the future, go to this page, go to the middle of the page where it says, we have shown how we got out from under. You say, yes, I'm willing, but am I to be consigned to a life to where I should be stupid, boring, and glum like some righteous people I see, even in the fellowship, right? I know I must get along without liquor or whatever it may be, but how can I be a sufficient substitute? Yes, there is a substitute. Is vastly more than that. It is a fellowship in whatever anonymous you're in. There you will find release from care, boredom, and worry. Your imagination will be fired. Self-centeredness, the destruction of self-centeredness is going to be taken away if you would do this wholeheartedly. Life will mean something at last. The most satisfactory years of your existence lie ahead. Thus, we find the fellowship, and so can you. So don't forget that. There is always, always work to be done here. If you're bored in Alcoholics Anonymous, it's because you're sitting on the couch and not doing anything. I promise you, we got a lot to do here. Come talk to me, Nikki, Justin. I guarantee we'll find you some people to help. So my takeaway on this today is I better not arrive. Like Nikki said, and like I said on the last episode, whatever addiction it is, it's more serious as time goes on, left untreated. This is very deadly. It's no joke. I mean, we have a lot of fun here around this table talking about our lives and all the things we got going on. And I always say this, God, thank you so much for the laughter that I have in my life today, but please never let me forget the days I cried. There's been a bunch, drunk and sober. So my takeaway is that I'm just going to keep taking away everything that you guys give me, and I'm going to keep applying it in my life because it's working and it continues to work. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, David. My takeaway comes from this couple of sentences here. There were many unhappy scenes in our sumptuous apartment. There'd been no real infidelity for loyalty to my wife anyways, that I don't want to forget that no matter how much I tried to put lipstick on the pig, that there were a lot of unhappy scenes in my life. And I may say, hey, at least I didn't do that, or at least I didn't do that. No, it's a family disease, and I brought so much pain into that. But now in my life, I can work on fixing that up, making those unhappy scenes, not regretting them, nor wishing to shut the door on them, but taking them and building on them so that happy scenes can move forward in the future for me, for those that I work with, for my family moving forward into the future, hopefully, and just beautiful, beautiful things. That's my takeaway on this. Thank you so much, Nikki. Thank you so much, David, for your time and for your insights on this. Really appreciate you being here. Everybody out there, if you want to learn what Nikki and David are doing, we've got some links in the show notes of the podcast to some of the projects they're working on and the things they're doing in their recovery and in their lives. Check it out and keep coming back. Keep coming to do this. Read through your big book, apply the things that you're learning. If there's takeaways that you're getting, apply them into your life. If I don't do what I know, it does me no good, and it doesn't do anybody else any good either. Keep coming back, guys. It works when I work it. So work it. You are worth it.